Have you ever held a promise so dear it felt like a lifeline? There is a verse, tucked away in the ancient scrolls of the prophet Isaiah, that has served as such a lifeline for millions. It's a promise written not in ink, but in blood and sacrifice. It speaks of a suffering so deep, yet it yields a hope so profound. The verse is Isaiah chapter 53, verse 5. It says, "But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed." Think about those words for a moment. They don't just tell a story, they offer a remedy. They whisper of a healing available to you and to me, right here, right now. These words are more than just poetry from a time long past. They are a divine diagnosis of the human heart and the ultimate prescription for its cure. Someone else took the pain that was meant for us. Someone else stepped in front of the blow. The verse begins with a stark image. He was wounded for our transgressions. What are transgressions? Think of them as the times we've crossed a line. We knew the right path, the kind word, the honest choice, but we stepped over that boundary anyway. These are not small, harmless missteps. They are deep wounds in our own souls, and they are an offense to our Creator. The verse tells us that Jesus took the consequence for every single one of those line crossings upon himself. He was wounded in our place. Then it says, he was bruised for our iniquities. Iniquities are deeper still. They represent the crookedness inside us, the bent nature of our hearts that leads to those transgressions. A bruise is a sign of a heavy, crushing blow. Can you picture it? The weight of all that inner ugliness, from all of humanity, for all of time, was placed upon him. This wasn't a punishment he deserved. He was perfect, blameless. Yet he willingly stood in the gap for us. Imagine a child who has broken a precious family heirloom. The child stands in fear, awaiting the parent's anger and the just consequence. The next part of the verse is a paradox. The chastisement for our peace was upon him. How can chastisement, which means punishment or discipline, lead to peace? We think of punishment as leading to pain, fear, and separation. But here, the punishment of one person leads to the peace of many. It's because the punishment was just. The sins of the world required a response. Justice had to be satisfied. Think of it like a great courtroom. We are the guilty party, standing before the judge with no defense. The verdict is certain. But then someone, the son of the judge himself, steps forward and pays our fine in full. The legal requirement is met. The case is closed. The gavel falls, not with a sound of condemnation, but with a declaration of freedom. Because the debt has been paid, we can be at peace with the judge. The hostility is over, the separation is bridged. This is not just peace with God, it's the peace of God. It's an internal tranquility that the world cannot give and cannot take away. The chastisement he bore purchases our shalom, the Hebrew word for a deep, all-encompassing peace and wholeness. So, what does this healing look like in our daily lives? You know, it's not always a lightning bolt moment or a sudden, dramatic miracle. More often, it's a quiet, steady transformation. Just think of the person consumed by anxiety, constantly worrying about the future and unable to find rest. By clinging to the truth that the chastisement for their peace was laid on Jesus, they can slowly begin to release that burden. Consider for a moment the person shackled by the guilt of a past mistake. They replay it over and over, unable to forgive themselves. But then they read, "He was wounded for our transgressions." They begin to believe that his sacrifice was truly enough to cover that specific sin. They start to see themselves not as their mistake, but as someone who is forgiven and free. This healing also mends our broken relationships. When we are filled with bitterness or resentment towards someone who has hurt us, we are the ones who remain in prison. But when we understand the immense forgiveness we have received from God, it becomes possible to extend that same grace to others. Finally, this promise gives us an unshakable hope in the face of life's unavoidable pain and suffering. Perhaps the most beautiful aspect of this promise in Isaiah 53 verse 5 is its incredible scope. This healing is not reserved for a select few. The invitation is open to everyone. It doesn't matter what your past looks like. It doesn't matter how deep your wounds are or how heavy your burdens feel. The verse says, "He was wounded for our transgressions and bruised for our iniquities." The hour is all-inclusive. The only condition for receiving this gift is to believe. It's not about earning it or deserving it. We just can't. The price was far too high for us to ever pay. Faith is the hand that reaches out to take the medicine that has already been purchased and is being freely offered for our healing. It is in that moment of simple, heartfelt belief that the healing begins to flow. Whatever hurt you are carrying, whatever shame is weighing you down, whatever anxiety is stealing your joy, bring it to the foot of the cross. And by His stripes, we are not only healed spiritually and emotionally, but also physically. Jesus' sacrifice brings us hope for physical healing as well. See Him there, wounded for you, bruised for you, taking the punishment for you. And hear His gentle whisper across the centuries, "By my stripes you are healed." Believe it, receive it. Walk in the profound peace and glorious healing that He purchased for you at the greatest possible cost. It is a gift, freely given. All you have to do is take it.